Hi guys, and welcome back to the mental health series on Chat with Lulu.
Yeah, I know I look good. Yeah, I look fly. Baby, I'm just your type. I'm a baddie. I'm a baddie. Yeah, I know I look good. Yeah, I look fly. Baby.
So on this episode, I have a beaut, a somebody, a very fine, intelligent young lady. And I'm sure before we finish, you get to know her more. So please introduce yourself to my team out there.
Okay, so hi everybody, my name is Ruth and
I'm happy to have you. Don't worry, let me
I'm happy to be
finish
here.
it. I'm happy to have you. And on this episode, we're talking about defense mechanisms. So defense mechanisms, just in case you don't know what that is. I'm sure you have, practiced a lot of them, but you don't just know, you're just not aware of it. So we're here to bring this to your screens, giving you some awareness and information about it. So Ruth, baby, tell us, what are defense mechanisms? Like in a layman's term, what are defense mechanisms?
So I like these analogies because I feel like it helps us understand.
Sure.
So you know how like when you're faced with like difficult situations, like first if you see a lion, if you're met with a lion, right, your first like your body will be attentive, your eyes will be dilated, your hands will be raised
open,
right, really open. Let's not lose people. So like your eyes will be so open, like to see whatever, and then like your heart will be racing so
you'll be
much,
breathing fast.
like you're breathing really heavily. So those are like mechanisms that we have in our body that God has given us to be able to cope with difficult situations. The same way it is like mental challenges. So we have those mechanisms, defense mechanisms that we have to cope with tough challenges. Like for instance, you're embarrassed or like you have a heartbreak, your heart, things like that. So those are what defense mechanisms are.
Okay, so more like they're like mind ways to cope with different stressors at different times. Okay, so like I know there are classifications, so I just started helping. So tell us like about the classifications and
Right. So we have mature defense mechanisms, we have immature defense mechanisms, and we have the neurotic defense mechanisms.
And then the rest that neither here nor there.
Yeah, they're just general.
Okay. So could you tell us like why mature versus immature? Why not good and bad? Why like mature and immature? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so the mature defense mechanisms basically they are the defense mechanisms that you're usually aware, you're conscious. Or you may not know it's the defense mechanism, but like you're aware, you're doing it. You're aware when you're doing it. And also the fact that it's also productive. So usually, like I said, defense mechanisms is usually like how to cope with a stressor, right, at that given time. But usually most of the defense mechanisms, they usually take you out of the problem. But for the mature defense mechanism, basically you're doing something productive. So it leads to something productive, something added. So that's why they are mature. Like mature people, you're responsible.
Oh shit, responsible mechanisms.
So that's in contrast to the immature ones where you basically just running away, you're not dealing with it.
You're not dealing with it. Wow.
And then the neurotic that can cause problems. Mental illnesses.
Yeah. As I always say in the other videos, we are just students. So this is our like we're trying our best to bring it down to everyone's level. We might not be perfect.
We're not.
We are not perfect. Not even we might not be. We are not perfect, but we're just trying to help. That's what I want to say here. And this video is going to be very interesting because you will get to know a lot of stuff and discover a lot of information. So get your pens, pencils, papers, minds, devices, everything to jot things down. Okay, so now we're getting into the mature defense mechanism. So what are they like? Tell us them.
So we're in medical school, right?
Yeah.
So we have this popular mnemonic that we use, SASH.
SASH, that's SASH.
Right. So for the mature defense mechanisms, we have sublimation, we have altruism, we have suppression, and then we have humor.
Okay, so now sublimation. Tell us about sublimation.
Sublimation. So this is basically where you're feeling a certain way, usually negative, but then instead of like throwing it out, you're basically channeling whatever you're feeling to a productive means. So an example of that would be where maybe a guy, usually guys, they put out anger when they abuse. So like for a guy now that was bullied in high school and things like that, and so he ends up becoming a wrestler in life. So where all that anger from the bullying, or maybe he was even physically abused, maybe he was neglected by his parents, things like that, so he becomes a wrestler, and so all that anger and aggression instead of bashing everyone, becoming
destructive,
right?
So
he channels it to wrestling, and then he becomes champion and everything. So right, so that's productive. So it's well known and nobody knows that he has aggression. So
she's on her own. But yeah, that kind of
not
thing.
To say all wrestlers.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Or in example, like with the lady, it would be something like maybe my mom, like we had issues and I'm just like mostly so much and then you now just go cleaning and everything, you clean, wipe the everywhere, even places that clean, you clean everywhere. So like channeling your frustration or your anger to
that particular productive thing
So
consciously. That's sublimation. So sublimation. So the next one is altruism. So tell us about altruism.
So altruism basically is we generally say like we're using generalization now, but it's not like typical. So we generally say like people that are philanthropists are altruists, right? So like you know how maybe someone was let's still go back to the old bullying thing. Maybe like a girl, she was a bully when she was in high school, she did something really bad, maybe she even made someone commit suicide, and then at that point maybe there was like that turning point in her mind, I cannot remain this evil person, and then she now decides to join an orphanage and then go wash clean plates for them. So do good things basically. Or maybe even like all these bad guys and then become a pastor like later in life. So that would be like to make up for the bad things
that they've done, or all these drug lords that give donations and
right.
just to make up for like the bad things behind the scenes. I feel you.
That would be like altruism.
So like suppression. What about suppression?
Suppression, I feel like it's the most common.
You have suppressed, I have suppressed, we are suppressed.
So I feel like this is actually good, honestly, because I mean, bad things happen to people. Like we have challenges and it's part of life, ups and downs and all. If we cannot suppress, like
I don't know what you're doing. You can't suppress. I don't know what you're doing.
So this is
I have a perfect example of suppression. So a perfect example of suppression is like, I'm sure you have gone through it. A lot of people have gone through this. So maybe in secondary school when that guy or that girl that you love so much really hurts you, and then the next day you have an exam. So you just package that emotion, put it somewhere at the back. You don't put it at the back of the bag, and then you don't focus and like read for the exam, pass the exam, then you come back to it. So you just like temporarily pushing a stressor aside, like something that is really, what's the word, emotional to you or whatever, just a stressor. You don't package it and put it aside, and so that you focus on something that is more priority at the moment, more important at that time. So like that's a perfect example of suppression.
You can see why it is mature.
You actually need it. Stressors come every day, but you still have to fulfill, you still have to be productive, you still have to achieve, you still have a lot of things to do. So suppression is really very common and a lot of people use it. So the final one is humor.
Something about this suppression where we're talking about. You know how you said then after like the exam you can go back and do it. But some people may not go back to do it. And that's where it becomes a problem. So if for the main time you're using the defense, the mature defense mechanism of suppression, if you don't go back after you've dealt with your exam, you've passed and all, going back to deal with it, then it can become a
problem. If you don't go back to deal with it, then it can become a problem. But suppression is very normal. It's very normal. So the last mature one is humor.
This I use a lot. So like you know how sometimes you're in like an uncomfortable situation. You know, let me think of an example. You know how maybe you said so. Let me see. I can't think of an example right now, like a real example. Let's think of a real one. But this is basically where you're in an uncomfortable situation, or maybe something bad actually happened and all, and not like bad, like someone loses their parent and you're not using him. That's not okay. That's not okay. So like, but something uncomfortable basically, and then you just throw the joke out just to make everybody chill and relax, not that deep. Like even if it's deep, you can still deal with it. So that's basically what humor is. So
Did you just say that you didn't find anything? That Nigeria is humor.
Oh yeah.
Nigeria
Like
is
most of
humor.
our problems, we actually use humor to
As
deal
in, we
with
use humor to, and like the way we just crack jokes about it and everything just dies like it didn't happen. Not like it's the best, but it just helps us to manage.
I mean, most of those
it at
situations we
that time.
cannot actually deal with.
Yeah,
Because it's usually from
yeah.
the government.
Yeah, from the Oga at the top, so that kind of
So
thing.
humor is just the best way to deal with it.
So it's just like cracking jokes out of like uncomfortable situations.
Yeah. So and then you make yourself all
Yeah, it's counting down.
and then you're able to deal with it even
Yeah.
more logically.
Yeah. Like that's when you're cool. Like instead of getting angry
All
and
uptight and then
the tension and all, so you just girl, I told you guys this is the shit, man. So basically, I'm sure you've learned a lot.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. You can ask questions. Turn on the post notification bell, and you can also ask like questions.
Yeah.
We'll come and answer. So leave comments and hope we've been. If you really like this video, just tell us you liked it. You know, if you love to see more of this content, tell us. And we love you. We love you. That's why we're bringing this to your table.
Right.
We are
So
trying to
aware.
create awareness. So thank you. Shout out to our props director at the back, Victoria. All right, guys, we've come to the end of the video. Bye.